Hello, good evening. This is Bharti Naik, your host for PSAI Talk Show, and I welcome you all to this wonderful evening. We have a special guest with us, our PSAI member, and his name is Harish Kumar. Well, I must tell you something about Harish Kumar. Harish Kumar is an artist, a visual artist, and he brings a lot of creativity with him, and that's why he's named his company, he's named his initiative as Out the Box. Now that's how cool it is, right? Out the Box, where we always think about out of the box, where he said let's create the box. So he's an artist, a craftsman, an exemplary digital technician working in the field of art for nearly 2 decades now. His knowledge and expertise have gained him a lot of spots in the artistic circle. Apart from that, he is also a filmmaker, a creative consultant, and also a multilingual trainer in visual designing. Wow. If I have to find out what all the languages he speaks, I believe he speaks Tamil, Odia, German, of course, English, Hindi. Oh, I will have to check more. Wonderful. And he is also a branding contest content strategist. Now, with wearing so many feathers in his hat and being such a artistic person, I don't want to waste a single moment, but to call Harish Kumar on today's PSAI Talk Show. So, welcome Harish to the talk show. It's such a pleasure
Hi,
to have you here.
hi, Bharti. It's been a pleasure for me too to be on this stage talking to you.
And of course, it is a pleasure for all of us because I know that you have been with PSAI since its inception. I would say you put the seed of PSAI in India. Yes.
Oh, yes, I've been fortunate enough to be part of the journey. I would not take that as my own credit, but then we were a bunch of us when we got together. I would say Kruba spearheading it, and then of course me, Praveen, and a few others. We got together, uh, not
Mhm.
so with major agenda, but then we said, hey, okay, we need to form a organization. We need to make it a professional organization, and that's how it started.
Okay. Of course, I will get to know more about it because there's a very beautiful story behind it. But before that, I move to that part. I would like to know, you have been an explorer in your journey and created a niche for yourself in the arts and media field. So share some of your nice moments in this journey, how it all started with a journey in visual arts.
Okay, if I have to talk about the whole journey, it started off right from my childhood days. I was kind of born and brought up in Calcutta. Calcutta is very rich in its culture, tradition, food, and stuff like that. And you would see all the pujas and Durga pujas and all that used to be an amazing amalgamation of art, design, putting up structure, and you would even be amazed the kind of animation that used to be created using just serial lights and things moving around. And I think that was the foundation somewhere. And as a child, one of my uncle used to actually take me to different museums and art galleries and things like that. So it was never like something structured or stuff. But then I got soaked into that whole culture of art and design. It just happened by default. And of course, with it, a love for food and a love for different things like sports, like cricket and football, which also stays along with me. But that's exactly how it kind of started. But then from there, my journey took into multiple places. I moved, I studied for a few years in Orissa. Then I studied my college and other things in Coimbatore, where I did my computers and engineering, and then moved on to realize that, okay, I'm not cut out for doing coding. But then I went and did my master's in mass communication, specializing in video production and direction. And then my career picked up from there. I had a brief stint in advertising in Bangalore, then before moving into Bombay, where I actually started my ad filmmaking career. I worked under Kunal Vijayakar So you would all be familiar with him from the guy from the week that wasn't. And of course, had some stint with Cyrus Process too. From there, I went on, I assisted Prahlad Kakar on worked under him,
Oh.
trained for a short while under that. And then I had a break in Bombay where I started doing some animated series, a few docudramas and stuff like that. And that's how the movie journey started. I also worked under Abbas Mastanji for a very short while under Ravi Yadav for a movie. I had a mix of Bollywood, a mix of advertising. All that was exciting, and life was going on until I decided that a bunch of friends, we said, hey, you know what, we need to start an entrepreneur journey. And I moved over to Chennai with a bunch of friends and said, we start a business. It all went on for a year, but then the business didn't pick up. It bombed. And soon to realize the other guys got back into their working lifestyle. Nothing, no hard feelings. But then I was left with the whole idea as to what to do. And then I started off on my own here, working as a freelance guy. So I got to work for Penta Media on two animation films. You know, I worked on Buddha, Gulliver's Travels, and I was fortunate enough to work with a national award filmmaker called Hariharan, with whom we
Oh.
did about 26 documentaries. We did some 13 episodes on history of Tamil cinema, 13 on secularism in India. And these were experiences which actually did a lot of turnaround for me, the kind of exposure around the country, the knowledge of different cultures, food, people. These are all what you would have read in textbook, but then I was living it out. And the same way, meeting a lot of people in the Indian film industry, more from the South Indian film industry. That's how things were all shaping up. And then in the midst of this whole experience is where I got picked up by Reliance Communications as a creative consultant with them. And there was an interesting division called as the New Initiatives Division. So I was
Uh-huh.
working as a creative consultant. So this was like about 10, 15 years back, when we were all trying out video on demand, new technologies, stream music, pipe music, all of that. So it was a very interesting phase to try out and do, we what we are doing today in terms of video conferencing. All these were being tried out as a technology, and I was very fortunate to be at the forefront of doing these things with that division. But unfortunately, the brothers split, and we were there at that point of the chaos in that organization. And since entertainment and media was moving towards Anil's camp, and I moved into Anil's camp. And by the time I had kind of set in Chennai, so they said either I had an option to move to Bombay or be in Chennai here. So being here, headed programming for Big FM Chennai. I set up Big FM Chennai here, and I was also part of the national team, working with some great folks like Tarun Katyal was our boss, who's like a big name. Then we worked with Gaurav Kapoor, was a co-trainer in terms of the RJs, and one of the best finds of that was Ayushman Khurana, who was there as part of the early finds, and he's now big name in the industry now. So that was the kind of journey. I Post that I came out. I was doing some work for Ad Labs again as an independent guy doing more of Bollywood, Kollywood, tamasha gossips. So I had a team there here until one day Ad Labs ran into loss and they wound up those divisions. And then I was pretty much on my own to start my entrepreneur journey in a full fledged. And that's when I formed Hypnotics as a production house.
Uh-huh.
So Hypnotics is now over 10, 11 years now. So we largely make content which ranges from corporate films, ad films, music videos, profile videos, a lot of learning content for corporates on safety. And I've been fortunate enough to work with some of the topmost tier companies in automobiles, energy, mining, and pharma, hospitals, all sorts of clients. And I've been, touchwood, lucky enough to do all that. And that's what my corporate side of the business side of things have been.
Wow. Can I say that, Harish, we have a celebrity member at PSAI?
No,
Okay.
I'll be
Now,
humble.
now, I'll tell you something, Harish. With all these things that you have shared, like a brilliant experience and fantastic exposure you have had with so many celebrities, so many people who are creative. You have made me a lot of curious. You have made me curious now, because now I think I was planning to ask you 6 questions, 7 questions, but now the list is going to go long. So if you're here tonight till the end, we can do it. Okay. All right. Now I'm more curious to understand that, yes, from moving from a creative person, working with so many people, understanding their different ways, then becoming an entrepreneur and having your own challenges and experiences as an entrepreneur. What was your journey into professional speaking? I'm sure there must be something that would have clicked you, something that would have said, yes, maybe this is the message I want to share. Maybe this is something that I want to speak and share it with people, share it with the world. What is it that actually stuck you and say, yes, professional speaking is something I want to do now?
Yes. I think even before I tell where it started, I should give you a little background of what was happening. So, like I mentioned about, for almost 2 decades, I've been doing production, making videos, and all sorts of content. But then, like I would interview some of the biggest stalwarts in the country, like people like Rahul Bajaj, Brij Mohan Lal Munjal, and uh, the celebrities. Like we worked on commercials where uh, stalwarts like Amitabh Bachchan ji was there, or sports people like Sachin Tendulkar is there, or Aishwarya Rai is there. So you're there at the forefront of doing that. So, and I'm fortunate that these kinds of things happened early. So you got to understand that, okay, they are also somebody who's doing that in front of the camera. So only thing is, I was doing a lot of these stuff behind the camera. I was not in the forefront
Hmm.
of doing it. So of course,
Yeah.
directing stuff with them, planning, doing the shoots, sitting with them, different instances, where you would shoot with a celebrity. Like, I remember we doing interviews with them, and they would say, "Hey,
Yes.
ha, 1 minute baat kar raha hu," and suddenly they are talking for 30 minutes, and you are wondering, should I stop him? Should I say no? How do I counter? Or like you're working in a ad film, and like I remember we were working with Prahlad Kakar, and he will get crazy and he will say, "Hey, you would all of you get out of the shoot," and you're out there. And these kinds of eccentricities and all those kinds of dynamics of handling large celebrities, larger people, larger stage was something I was there, but I never understood what was happening. And I would be doing a lot of speaking with them, forefront there. And I was like an industry speaker then once I started my entrepreneur journey. So I would speak at forums more on branding, I would speak on visual aspects of things. I would talk about video technology, filmmaking, and stuff like that. So I was more of a, what you call as industry speaker, who would go there. And my large objective used to be like, I speak, maybe more people see me, they connect with me, and probably this would translate into some business for my production house. And that's
Right.
how my speaking life was. And I remember some of our good friends from the PSAI fraternity, like Praveen Shekhar is there, Kruba was there. We all were doing stuff like this, which would indirectly get us back into some kind of a business or there, or doing some gigs together and stuff. But the big moment happened when Frederick Harron came down to Chennai. Kriba had got him down, and he met us, and we met in a small hall, 10, 15 of us. And that day, the whole thinking changed. We were like, okay, we are speaking to be a professional. So we need to charge this. This is like a business. You need to take speaking not just as something that gets you attention or something that gets you something, but then you need to define this as a business. And if you start thinking of that as a business, then the whole perspective changes. It's not just
Yes.
a hobby, it's just not getting into a forum and speaking for some minute, but then you do that. So, which meant a keynote. So, we
Yeah.
built a keynote. It took me almost a year to build a keynote because I didn't know
Okay.
what was it. Is it too complicated? Should I give too much of information? Then you realize, no, it is not about too much of information. It's about that message that you can give. And slowly, what happened? Uh, Word of mouth spread. I started doing lots of gigs and free gigs in Rotary. I would go speak out to colleges, schools, go and encourage them. And that gave me a lot of trial and training ground for me to fine tune my keynotes, where I would go and experiment in new content. I'll go and speak there. So I said, hey, you know what? And in fact, I tell this to all upcoming and potential speakers. You find a forum, you find a venue to go and speak, just go and speak. Don't get into the business, economics, paisa, vaisa, all that will come. Because the first job is like a potter. You need to shape the pot very well. And if you haven't done that, how do you get? You've tried your hand at the pot, you run it, the potter's thing will shape up amazingly, but yours will not. So is speaking. The more we keep speaking, the more we get better, better, and better. And it's a constant process. It's like, I can't say that I've done this, I've achieved. No, I need to keep fine tuning, find new content, find new pegs, and then do that. And that is the key. And from there it actually worked for me. From there, some event organizations, some corporates saw me, say they called me out to speak to their employees. I would actually do a lot of outbound workshops where I would take like a top senior management. I would take them to, say, a Goa. I would take them to some hill station, get them to do interesting stuff, make them feel really vulnerable, make 100 people do a canvas together, or make a team do a full-fledged movie in like 3 hours and present it, trash it out, or make a bunch of people paint canvases, auction it back to them, sell and raise funds. Like, I would say crazy stuff like that. But then that would really work with people. So I would do workshops, I would do keynotes, and that worked as my business.
Wow, this is what I love about artists. Whenever they want to explain anything, they always do it in an artistic manner. It's a potter, so you have to be a potter to carve your keynote, and it's an ongoing process because it takes time to shape, to refine, and then you get into it and you practice, and that's where the whole art of making pottery comes into life. So wow, that's wonderful. Thank you so much. Harish, we have an interesting question for you from the audience. When did you go and had this out the box? What is the story behind out the box?
Okay. It like I told you about, the last 17, 18 years, I've been in the creative world doing video, animation, all sorts of stuff. Um, I had a moment of reflection for me at that. So where I was feeling creatively stagnated, or so to say, like, hey, I'm in the creative world. I've been fortunate enough to try different things, but somewhere I was feeling, what, I'm not very satisfied. It's not fulfilling. And then when I did a self reflection, then I said, okay, what I have been doing is transactional. Somebody is paying me money, so I make something and give it to them. And then I said, how can I get to the purest form of creativity? So I was mentioning about what happened, where we were talking about,
Out the box, the
yes, the out
experience,
the
the
box
whole
moment.
journey.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. What happened was, I was looking at this self reflection, and then it gave me this whole thought that I need to be doing something which is more pure. So when I looked back, what can be so pure? Pure can be like, you're doing art, when you're doing art for yourself, from your own inner side, it's very pure. There is no agenda, there is no commercial tag. I'm not doing that to impress anyone. Then, if I'm writing something, that's very pure, because you are writing with your heart, with your passion. And the same way comes speaking. So, and that's when I realized, probably two, three things that I can do till the day I die could be art, could be speaking, and could be writing. Though writing comes a little slow for me, so I picked up art and speaking as the forefront of it, because I'm more of a visual person. So for me, visual works, and I love talking. So I said, hey, these two relate. And the first primary thing I need to do is, I need to go out and try and create an impact with people, try and make people be more creative, make thereby, by being more creative, people can be more happy. And that's the message that I would want to reach out to the world. And that's the core reason I start speaking. And then I look back at it, it becomes a business. Like Out the Box started like that, I
Mm-hmm.
Out the Box was something I had formed as a name, but then I realized Harish was like a common name, so I said I need a prefix to it, and then I said, okay, let me be the Out the Box Harish and do that. And that was the moment which made a change, and I went, made a company and did stuff like that. And you won't believe, I started this whole journey just by doing some painting at home. I started painting some large
Okay.
canvases. My family thought I was gone a little crazy. I'm like sitting for hours. But then I realized it was like trance for me. Without any substance or abuse or anything, I could spend hours and hours on it, feeling excited and great. So I started making lots of canvases. No other place. I had an office, so I said, okay, I'll put all of them in the office. If nobody can question me there, so I went and put up. And slowly, some architects happened to come. They saw some of the artworks. Some of the clients we were working, they said, hey, you know what? Why don't you do some stuff? And artworks got sold. I started doing some design for companies, transforming their spaces with art, uh, installations, design. And that one work went to the other, to the point of I've designed auditoriums, I've designed galleries, I've designed exhibition centers, gyms, clubhouses. And to the latest one, I've done like a 27,000 square feet of an experience center. It's for India's largest B2B marketplace. And this
Uh-huh.
would not have been possible because I'm not a trained architect. I'm not like, I wouldn't say I'm a trained interior designer. Um, I'm an artist by practice, so I'm not even a trained artist per se. But then what worked for me was to understand and being with that whole open mind to go out and give, and which is what I would tell every speaker. I'm saying go out and spread your message. If you go that with that genuine intent, rest of the things will automatically start happening.
Wow, this is so beautiful. And there's a very interesting question for you, Harish, and this is from Subramaniam. He's saying, why I have a feeling that you will be better on screen and not behind. Have you ever tried acting before?
Yes, Subbu, I'm waiting for my movie very soon, and with all your blessings, I'll try and get in front of the screen. Yes, I've been largely behind the screen, though on and off. Some of the early commercials, where when we were assistants, we'll be thrown in front of the camera. So I've been in commercials like BPL, Rexona deodorant, where you would have like earlier, like I would have been like those passing shots here and there. But yes, I used to be in theater and all that till school, college, and all that. But then largely went behind the screen. But I feel speaking is like in front of the screen. It's like you're in front of the audience, you're talking to them. It's damn interesting. And with what Subbu said, I'll take it very seriously. I'll try my luck at the silver screen too.
Yes, of course. And this pops up an idea in me, Harish. If I have to share with everybody, share it with you as well. At PSAI, we all are very creative in our own spaces, in our own ways. And of course, you being the visual creative person, uh, why don't we have an amazing, maybe a short movie or maybe a documentary of PSAI? And you can lead the front. You have a nice storyline, and we can have a nice movie on PSAI.
Oh wow, wow, that's interesting. Actually, we should start thinking. I think we should script it out, and why not? We all are some amazing bunch of speakers. Let's put our heads together. We should have a film out here, and I'll take that very seriously.
Yeah, because when I look at all the members at PSAI, they all have a different background. They all are coming from a different domain. Some is from finance, some is from nutrition, some is a physiotherapist, a doctor, engineer, financial expert. You coming from the visual arts, mass communication, psychologist. I mean, if I start HR, if I start naming, the list is very long, and we all are professional speakers. We're looking at that business, we're looking at that message that we want to share it to the world. Why not do it in a much creative way? Well, let's
Yes,
let's we'll,
yes,
we'll look more about it. Now,
yes.
coming to a lot of comments that I'm receiving, and I'm also receiving, trust me, receiving a lot of messages. Please ask this question to Harish. All right, so I must ask you this one more question. And the question is, you are a creative person, and do you also sometimes go into the creative block? that yes, I'm not able to bring out something, some creativity or inside me? And if yes, how do you remove that creative block if you have that?
Oh, yes. As creative people, we all need challenges first to start that. So, one, you look for challenges. If not, like I have this problem, if things are too stable and too normal, I get crazy. So, I need some, I agitate things on my own. So, I said, let me do something else or let me try learning something. So, I feel that creative block is necessary. You need to get down to the
Okay.
point where you feel stuck. And only when you're
Uh-huh.
stuck, you will start searching for answers. If you're very comfortable and things are moving, you are not going to try and do something different. So you need to be stuck to find those different dots. Then you find those dots and then start connecting them. The moment you start connecting all of these dots, you will start seeing magic happening around. But yes, you need to be pushed down to the corner. You need to feel stuck. You need to feel vulnerable and then come out. Because it's that stage only you try and expose the real stuff. Because I always tell people, even in my talks, in my keynotes, you want to be creative. Remember this: being creative is a high risk, high return game. So the more creative you are, the more stuff you want to do, means you need to take more risk. If you're not willing to take that risk, if you're not willing to try something different, how is it? And which means if you're going to try different, 9 out of 10 times you are going to fail. How good are you to take that beating on your face and say, march up and say, okay, let me get up and walk straight and find the next dot. So that's those are those failures, and things are all those varied dots, and you pick them up and then try and connect and then see, and that's where your magic will happen.
Wow, that's a very different perspective, Harish, you have given today. Because whenever I come across this creative block, I never look at it as a dot and I need to march ahead and look for another dot and then maybe connect both of them. And very interestingly, you mentioned that we must be stuck somewhere so that we know that where to move next. Fantastic. I really like this different perspective, because we creative people, we always strive to maybe show our creativity in writing. Some people do it on videos, some people do it in their art, some doodles, some in their stories when they speak. But there always this block that comes, and very interesting perspective you give, Harish. And of course, there is another interesting question from Ramaprasad asking that, of course, I have witnessed that also in PSS 2020 when we met for the first time at the summit. We danced. We had an amazing a dance floor with all the professional speaker coming together. And when the pandemic hit, you also had a very creative film coming out with your wife. So tell us, when did you had this love for dancing? When it started?
Okay, again, when it comes to dance, I think again I've never been a trained dancer of sorts, but then I think I think probably I started really dancing on stage uh, from my college. In college, you know, when they rag you, and in engineering college, you typically go through that ragging phase. Uh, and I remember first year they pushed me onto the stage and said, "Go do some crazy dance moves and stuff like that." I just did something, and then lots of my friends clapped and they said, "No, no, no, it's good, good, you do it." So at that point of time, I didn't know whether they were actually making fun of me or was doing. And then it so happened in the college, I started actually trying a lot of stuff on stage, working with different friends, dancing. And what I used to do and find that was it was very liberating. It was good fun. So
Hmm.
always took that. Hey, you know what? Dancing is fun, so let me do that, and it always revitalizes. So I always make it a point, um, any event or anything that I'm part of it, I encourage people to let themselves loose, dance, sing, and do that, because that is when you're not too structured or too, I would say, fabricated. Because you come down to an event, you go to a session, you think and portray and create an image of yours. You say, you know what, I am so and so, I'm this speaker, I need to behave like this. Why?
Hmm.
Who defined it? You have defined it. And that puts you into a shell. And you can't be creative inside a shell. The moment you break that shell and come out and do stuff, you're going to be creative. I
Hmm.
find dancing, all of these are ways of expression, and you need to let out more and more expression out.
That's very insightful. That dance liberates, we know it. And yes, because it's not structured, you are dancing it as your way that you want to be, and how we can use it as a professional speaker. Because sometimes you are right, we go into certain shell and we define ourselves, this is how I want to be, this is how I should be. But with dance, it pulls out a very different me. Fantastic. I really loved
In fact,
your
I'd like to add
response.
one point there.
Yes, please.
uh, you won't believe some of the topmost corporates, CEOs of multi-billion dollar organizations, when I've made them do some dance or some activity in a workshop, they have done some of the most bizarre things that you can ever imagine. The kind of steps, like their entire organizations have been like, did he do that? I've never seen him do that. So it's that little threshold, where you say you shed that I'm the CEO of this multi-billion dollar company, I'm out, and then the true person comes out. And then you start a lot of interesting stuff happens.
Lovely. And there are some out the box secrets coming out on the comments where Ram Prasad is saying you won best dance award in a district organized by Rotary in 2017. That's amazing. That's really interesting.
Thank you.
Okay. Coming to your niche, your expertise. When you say that yes, we are creative, and the more we can be creative. If I have to ask you, as a professional speaker, if I want to bring that creativity out from me, from inside me, what are the steps, or what is it that I can do, and I can be creative, or maybe be more creative?
Oh, yes. I'll pick up some cues from what I generally talk to people. I think first and foremost is your upbringing. How have you been
Hmm.
brought up? So what is happening is a lot of conditioning has happened in all ourselves. Whether it's societal norms, what is it, whether you need to follow this, you need to follow that. So first is to understand, being self-aware of what is the conditioning that has happened to you or your brain. And I'm sure you understand, because you are an NLP practitioner, you would understand that even more. How structures and scripts that are written in your brain becomes very, very, very strong in terms of how you think. So one, being aware of it. Once you're aware of it, then okay, I'm thinking like this because of X and YZ conditioning. Then what do I
Hmm.
do? Second, to liberate out of that conditioning, the first and foremost thing is to think play. I mentioned different aspects, dancing, doing art or doing play. I make play as an intrinsic part of my talks, my workshops, all of that, because I feel the moment you play and you push the people to actually play, they start coming out of the shell. And what happens with that shell? Once you're out of that play, when you're in the play mode, you have forgotten your scripts, you have forgotten your conditioning, you have forgotten your post and stuff like that, and you expose your inner vulnerable side, which is like, I'm just another guy like you and me, and we're all the same kind of. And see, which is what is happening today with all the COVID and all sorts of things. It just shows that how vulnerable we are.
Yeah.
It's a thing that you can't see. It's just locked us all inside our homes. So we are that vulnerable. So what are we trying to portray in the world? So we are vulnerable. And once you're aware of your vulnerable side and you're willing to tell the world, I'm good at this, I'm not good at this, and it's okay for me to be like this. And moment that acceptance happens, understand this very clear. The moment the acceptance of your vulnerability happens,
Hmm.
you start gaining the trust of the people around you, the tribe around you, the society around you, and everybody. And soon you will see this trust builds, then you're able to collaborate with people, you're trying to be more creative, and you can be a happy person. Just this realization is the magic. You need to be doing this, and that will create an impact.
Wow, I loved your strategy because I never thought about this, that when we have our thinking side, of course, it comes out from our upbringing, but how this thinking side actually shapes us in either becoming creative or maybe less creative. I think this is a fantastic strategy, and I will use it. I will use it. So, yes, you rightly mentioned that sitting at home. It's been a year. We are all confined to the home environment, home setting. We have become vulnerable and also showcasing to the world what we are best at. Lovely. I really loving this. And Harish, I am being swayed by so many questions people are throwing at me, and this is going to be more interesting. Okay, there's one question that has come from Sundaraman. I'll pick that up. What can be done by the PSAI member in creating awareness during the pandemic? Anything that you want to put it?
I think for every PSAI member, I think you can do multiple things. One, look at all your notes, look at all your content, look at your website, look at your gears that you have, your cameras, your lights. If you're writing a book, I said spend time re-looking at that, because in a normal time you would not have spent time, but this is a time to re-look at it, see what improvements that you need to do. Please sit and do all those necessary improvements. Get a good website up, get a good showreel up. Do you have a relevant showreel now? You might have had a showreel which is very outdated and done, or you've not created a showreel. Get your showreel up with whatever little stuff you have. Don't worry, you don't have to wait for that 2000. Like I look back right now, like I told you, like as an industry speaker, I used to go and speak in so many forums. I never bothered to take any video out, I never bothered to take any shoot out. I just, shit, that was such a lovely stage. That was, I wish I could get those videos back. No, I'm not going to get those back. So what do? Start all over again. So start from scratch again, start putting the material that you have till you do that. So this is a time to really relook, rework, create new stuff, and explore newer ideas and new mediums. And I'm
Lovely.
also doing that. I'm also trying and exploring new stuff every day.
That's beautiful, Harish. Tell me about the whole story. I really am more interested, or I would say more intrigued to know about how the PSCI inception started. What was it? Because I know a bunch of people who actually initiated and they put up the seeds. Tell us how it all began.
Oh, okay. Interesting stuff that happened. Like I told you, like it was Frederick Harron who came and sensitized us, and he came to Chennai, sat with us, and then he went to Mumbai. Sorry, he went to Delhi and met a lot of people over there and discussed the formation of it. Uh, Personally, I got excited to meet Frederick because I had read Frederick's idea book before that, because
Mhm.
my brother had engaged Frederick in his organization in Singapore. So he had told me about him and he had shared this book. So I was like personally more intrigued to meet Frederick and say, hey, okay, what has he got to store? But what he did was install this. And then we all came back charged, sat in the room. We all, Praveen's office used to be our adda or sorts. So we all used to meet up and say, what is that we want to do? And then we realized we need to do at least a summit which will put us straight onto an international map, because there's no use talking me you what is it. We said we have to do it. And the date that came across, when the calendar is a little open, they said, you know what, January is a date when the speakers are just getting back from their winter holidays and all that. So Jan end could be a date that you guys should target, and because after that the calendars are pretty full. And we were just about a couple of months away, and we were like, how are we going to do that? So that's when bunch of us, we said, okay, it was like a real tinker box. We all had some money. We said, okay, this is the money that I have. We all put that money in, and which was like the chanda collected. And we said, okay, we are going to have a summit right now. How do we do it? We don't have ticket registrations. We don't have an association registered. We don't have a website. We don't have a bank account. It was just, we just didn't know what was happening. But touch wood, PSAI had to be formed. Everything just fell in place one after the other. We had event planners, we had people sign up, we had international speakers willing to fly down on their own. We didn't even have money at that point of time to even give them a hotel stay. So we all took turns. Each one of us hosted each one of them in individually in one of our houses, And that's how we managed to do that PSAI. So it was very interesting for us. We just got together like it was more like school college work. We all got together and we pulled off the whole event without even having a bank account.
Wow.
And that was
And
amazing.
that's
And that put us on the map there. Uh, and then is when we started thinking of the organization was never formed after that. We formed a group, we started discussing, ideation, learning, and then it's over in the later part of the year or more is when the structuring thoughts came in. We need to put the association, put structures, put Lila, and I'm very happy the next stage of things have happened. The next teams have come up, there are new structures, bylaws, and the new team is doing amazing work. And that's exactly how PSAI should be heading. And I look forward to a lot of action in the future.
fantastic, fantastic. I mean, I can imagine the beginning how it would have been. Sometimes going through a little bit of anxiety, little bit of nervousness, restlessness, how things are going to happen, and then slowly it started shaping up. Now you see PSCI as growing as a baby, right from its inception to what it is now. And I remember when we had met first time in New Delhi, PSS 2020. I must thank you for bringing that insights about those 3 or 5 lighting that you have, 3 points lighting, 5 points
Right.
lighting, what should be the background, how you should be on the camera. And somewhere I really got fascinated, really got excited when I was there in that session when you conducted one of the session at PSS. And that also brought that uh, love for camera, because I saw the kind of passion, the love that you had for camera, being very natural in front of camera. And I was like, wow, if this person can do it, I can also do it. And that's where I started loving to be on in the front. And I said, if that is what it is, let me shed out my whatever inhibitions I have and let me be in front. So I thank you so much, Harish, for bringing out that from me. You don't know
Pleasure.
because you were on the stage. You were having your good time as a speaker, sharing your insights and experience, but the impact that you created to all of us, it was very, very unique. So thank you
Thank
for
you.
that.
Thank you.
And with this, no, I'm not going to leave you, Harish, because that's not the end of the talk show. Because now is the fun time. And let me put up some fun things because already it has started with so many questions pouring in. So tell me, what is the first thing that you do when you get up in the morning?
Okay. The first thing is a sense of gratitude. I do.
Mm-hmm.
I get up from the bed. I stretch myself out from the bed first. I make it a point for the first an hour or hour and a half. I'm not really looking at my mobile screen. I try to look out of the window or I go out into the balcony. Do that, drink a bit of water and feel energized first. Uh, and I think that's the first thing I do every day. And I feel it's very important to show a sense of gratitude to you
Yep.
made it to another day. And if you
Yep.
have that realization and you thank, I sincerely do that. I say I'm not a major religious or spiritual person, but then for me spirituality is showing that sense of gratitude for the day that you begin, for the day that you end. And
Yep.
it's about being just and right to everybody. Don't try and create harm or take away something from somebody knowingly, consciously. We don't know what is impacting in other ways, but at least knowingly and consciously don't do that. And I think that's what I try to do it every day. And I make that the mantra for myself.
Wow. And what is your favorite movie quote?
Favorite movie quote? I always talk about the stuff from Forrest Gump.
Uh-huh.
Life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get.
Wow, that's interesting. Life is like a box of chocolate. I would have the entire box. Okay.
Yes, have everything.
Okay. All right. Do you have a song that reminds you of a relationship? And if so, what's that song?
Oops, that's a difficult one. This is like getting like coffee with Karan. I was not prepared for something like this. A song, I listen to all sorts of song, like, but I like a lot of country music. I listen to a lot of songs by Don Williams. I like John Denver, like especially Country Roads and stuff like that. And that, it kind of gives me the sense of being, going out, take me home. The home is your own world. So I love
Uh-huh.
Country Roads by John Denver.
Okay, that's lovely. And if you have a choice, what would be your preferred adventure? Would it be sea trips or mountain trekking?
Okay. I love the sea, but I haven't ventured too much into mid sea. So I've done lots of mountain treks and into the jungles and forests. So any day, I think a mountain would score more than the deep sea adventure.
Okay, all right. And now this is very interesting, and I would really want you to know, I want you to answer this. If you could talk in your sleep, what would you say? Use your creativity, Harish.
Like I imagine, or what I would have blabbered or something
Yes,
like that.
yes, yes.
Like, okay, I always say this, in fact, I do this little type. Sometimes I tell people also do this little visualizing exercise of doing, like,
Mm-hmm,
I said, what is it to see life from the other end, from your
mm-hmm.
deathbed? So I always like to visualize, how will I die, or how should I die? And I tell people, most of the people don't even think or avoid that little thought, or they have fear out of it. Like, to me, if I say, I would say, I would just love dying on a piece of canvas painting. Probably I'm lying on a canvas, and that's what I would dream about, where I'm just lying flat on a canvas, I'm just painting, and then I die in that bliss moment. And that would be, and I would dream
Wow,
of things like that.
that's blissful. And lastly, what is that one message that you want to give as a visual creative person? One message for the professional speakers who are watching us now. And they are going to watch, there'll be many people who will be watching it later. So, what is that one message you want to give?
I think for every professional speaker, for us, it's very important to up the game. One very important
Mhm.
thing, look at your content. Is your content too old? Are you delivering a very ghisapita message, or is this something that you have been doing for so many years, or people have seen this, done that? Or are you picking up some content from web or book and just giving it out? No, it's not going to work beyond that, because you're
Yeah.
not be able to scale your business with that kind of information or worth. If you want to do something, bring it largely from your experience, if you can share that. And if you say, hey, you know what, I can't have that kind of experience, at least borrow experiences of different people and present it. This is from the story and content part of it. I think you have to build a lot of stories, build a lot of interesting things that people like. Today I'm talking a story of me. You will probably remember bits of pieces of these stories. You're not going to remember everything, but you're going to pick up and remember one or two pieces. That is very important. So leave a story behind. And second, I would say, up your technical game.
Yeah.
Today the future is heading completely in a different direction. uh, if you ask me, what am I doing my homework on today, I'm doing my homework in virtual reality. I'm trying to do create my avatars in the virtual world, see how I can create and do a virtual reality presentation, and maybe get 20, 30 of the people, create their avatars to be in a 3D immersive environment and do that. And you will be surprised. I was having this conversation with Andrew yesterday, and Andrew said, you will know, Harish, what are you talking about? Frederick Herren just did a session where the company actually gave headsets to all the guests, whoever was going to attend. They actually sent them a VR headset, and he did a. So I would say, I'm going to reach out to Frederick and say, how what was the experience in doing that? But that is where things are heading. Maybe it's still early stage, but start investing your time and energy on technology. It's just a matter of time. You never know when things are all going to turn into that. So know what it is, how you can handle yourself, be robust with your content, update it every now and then, and be tech savvy. You can't get away with, at least, or have an amazing team. If you can spend lots of money, get lots of technical guys to help you out, like guys like Tony Robbins and all do that. They have an army of people doing that for them.
Yeah.
If not, you will have to learn a lot of stuff and up your game.
Beautiful, beautiful. I think these are very, very insightful messages for the professional speakers, because yes, it's time for gaming it up. We really have to put those things up and raise it to a level where we can project everything to the world. So thank you so much, Harish. It was a very wonderful, exciting conversation with you. And I can imagine being with you, having a nice coffee with you, and having this nice chit chat. But it was interesting. It was really amazing. Thank you so much for coming at
Pleasure,
PSAI
pleasure.
Talk Show.